Hi. So I want to share with you a question that I've been exploring for the last 3 years or so, and it's what happens after a disaster? So in the case of Haiti, 2010, widespread destruction, infrastructure is destroyed, the government is kind of brought to its knees, and people will take to the streets looking for help for their families, for answers. In 2011, the kind of triple threat that Japan is faced with of a tsunami, an earthquake, radiation that's spreading over 5 prefectures, but they still manage to keep kids from missing too many days of class after they get evacuated. Mexico City, March 2012, an earthquake hits that is so strong and so prolonged that people flee to the streets because they think the buildings are going to come down around them. And electricity goes out, telecommunications infrastructure is destroyed or damaged. And basically you can see these people are kind of freaked out, but there's very limited communication. And most recently, Superstorm Sandy hits the East Coast. 8.2 million are without power, mostly in New York and New Jersey. And again, about 25% of cell towers are out. And because there's no power, most people have no internet access. So this is kind of a common theme that happens in a disaster. So after a disaster hits, people want to communicate. But the infrastructure is most likely damaged or destroyed. And even if it's not, it's only built to handle a certain capacity. The cell towers are constructed based on models that the companies build for how many people are going to be using this at any given time. And as just happened in Boston, right after a crisis, those capacities are just exceeded massively. And it results in a very poor quality of service. So your calls don't go through, your mobile data doesn't work. Maybe all you have is text messages. So this is a map. Green means 10% of the computers in that area are on or are down. So you can see red coming in, that's Sandy hitting, and all these computers being knocked off the internet. So you can see it is mostly concentrated in New York and New Jersey, and the data that came after this in a technical report shows internet outages in the US doubled when Sandy hit. So you can see hurricane US landfall there, and immediately New York and New Jersey suddenly appear on this map of internet outages. So I said I had a question, which is what happens after disaster, but I really have 2 questions. And the second one is, what can I do about what's happening after disaster? How can I help in this crisis? And I'm really inspired by the existing humanitarian outreach efforts of kind of the internet as a whole. So the Haiti earthquake just struck. Every white line you see is some volunteer on the internet updating and improving the map, the OpenStreetMap of Haiti. So this is an open source alternative to Google Maps. And it turns out there were no accurate maps of Haiti. And after the earthquake struck, they didn't know where the roads were even. So volunteers on the internet got together, looked at satellite images, looked at aerial images, and hand drew the most accurate map of Haiti that, as far as I know, we've ever had. So that was very inspiring to me. And what's great about generating valuable open source content like that is it can be remixed and reused. So that map became the basis of this Ushahidi project. So this is a crisis map, and ever since this was deployed for Haiti, and you can see there's red circles there with numbers. So the one that is labeled 941 represents 941 messages written by people at that spot. And these are, in the case of Haiti, these were text messages saying, I'm at this district, at this building, and there's no water and no food, and there's 50 people here. So these kinds of messages were very valuable in distributing aid and doing search and rescue. And again, this project is just an open source project created by volunteers on the internet. And ever since this first Haiti Crisis Map, virtually every major disaster from the BP oil spill to the tsunami and earthquake in Japan has its own crisis map. So I think that's great, but there's one problem with these crisis maps. And that's that, well, first of all, you need to know about them, and you need to know they exist, and you need to have the contact information to actually submit to them. And so you can see you can submit to these crisis maps via text message, email, or the website. So that's kind of making a big assumption. And that assumption is that you have internet or cellular connectivity. And as we've seen, you probably don't. In the first 12 hours after a disaster, it's very unlikely that you'll have reliable internet connectivity. So this is a kind of simulation I made. On the left there is the sprint coverage map for the Santa Clarita Valley. Dark green is good, light green is okay, gray means no service. So on the right, you have what the coverage map might look like after a disaster. So you've gone from kind of blanket connectivity, where everywhere you go, your cell phone connects to the internet and you can send and receive messages, to this kind of model of connectivity islands, where unless you are at the public safety office at COC, you will not have internet at COC. Unless you go to the one cell tower, unless you're in range of the remaining cell towers that exist, you won't be able to use them. So this is a big change, especially for people like us who are used to smartphones. And in fact, smartphone developers, and I'm guilty of this myself, develop applications that require internet access. So if you decide, oh, I'm stuck in this disaster, I guess I'll update my Facebook status so people know I'm okay, you'll probably not get past this login screen. And that's really unfortunate. So I think that we need to change how smartphones operate in the first, say, 12 hours after a crisis. So who in this room has a smartphone or a tablet on them right now? OK, so that's like 98, maybe even 100% of the people in this room. So why can't we leverage these devices to communicate with each other? Why should we need to talk directly to a cell tower? Why can't I talk to you, and then you go to the cell tower, and you send my messages for me? So that's the idea of peer-to-peer delay-tolerant communication. So my cell phone, I write a message, and it will share that message with everyone in Wi-Fi range. And Wi-Fi range is it's variable depending on like obstacles and interference, but in the case of this room, everyone in the room could get my message, and probably people in the halls, people on the street behind me here. It'd be about 150 to 300 feet, depending on my device. So if my message gets copied to another phone, that person has their own messages, and anytime they interact with somebody, they also share my messages and their messages. And now all it takes is one person getting internet access for all of our information to get uploaded to the internet. And once that one person has an internet connection, they can receive massive amounts of information that are being generated on the internet and coming in, like Red Cross evacuation zones, where are safe and unsafe areas around here. And that information can get pushed back out from phone to phone and help inform people. And this is all without any infrastructure, just Wi-Fi, just my phone talking to your phone, or my phone talking to a Wi-Fi access point that you're also connected to. So this is very possible. And when I see Hurricane Sandy and just people on the streets, I know these people have smartphones, and I know that they could be communicating. So opportunistic connections bring a power that kind of the centralized communications infrastructure lacks. So in the first, say, 6 hours, if power's out to those cell towers, even if you are just stuck with what you have on you right now, why not take advantage of it? So I'm actually working on several avenues that kind of expand on this idea. So the great part about cell phones is that they don't require anything else to operate other than the cell tower and a battery, right? So take away the cell tower. OK, now we're left with a mobile device that's running lower and lower on battery. So it really is that first 4 hours that I'm targeting. Because in the first 4 hours, most people's devices will still have battery. It's kind of the most important time to understand what's actually happened and where aid needs to be distributed. So my belief is if we can enable communication in those first 4 hours between people who are nearby, that information, which is then passed around, can get on one of these crisis maps. And that is really a change, because when you're looking at these crisis maps, these have been generated over days and days and days. So the Haiti Crisis Map, it was created within hours of the disaster, but it took a few, more than a few hours to get the information, the cell phone number to SMS out to the people of Haiti. So I think that's a problem with this kind of model, is that if you have to know it exists, and you have to, you're trying to submit data, you're trying to find your family, you're trying to be safe in this disaster, you don't have time to be surfing the internet looking for crisis maps. So I think it needs to be already resident on your device. So that's why smartphones are a great platform, because if there was a disaster communication app that would guarantee if you wrote a message, people nearby will get it. And as it spreads, it'll go to one of these maps. It could be a general app that you install, and then if you ever need it, I can just direct the messages that are coming in to whatever crisis map has been set up for your disaster. So I think this is a very powerful idea, and I also encourage you to charge your cell phones and explore backup power options. And I don't just say that because it'll help my research if the average uptime of cell phones is higher. All right. Thanks a lot.